Hey guys, it's Wildcat here. Just want to give you another update on my latest character. So the new Delirium League has just started and I've decided to continue my project from last season and continue with the Wanda. I just want to go through this video on what I've done in the last few days since the start of Delirium and how I started my character and how I'm building my character going forward. There has been a few new skills that's been introduced that's been really good for Wanda builds. You actually can now level as a Wanda from level 1 all the way to whatever level you wanted to take it to level 100, right? Back in the previous seasons, it's really difficult to level as a Wanda. You had to transition from something else into the Wanda later on. Now, with the introduction of Spellslinger and Kinetic Bolt, they basically allows you to convert spell damage into wand attack damage, and that has given us a huge boost in damage at pretty much every level. And it's quite a nice league starter. It gives you a lot of damage without too much investment. Just to give you an idea, I've managed to kill Act 10 Kativa and Merciless Lab with a 3-link, with two 3-links, with a 3-link Kinetic Bolt and a 3-link Spellslinger. So it's really nice. I just want to show you guys what I've been doing. So unlike last season, I decided to go for a Scion. As a league starter, I have determined that the Ranger is actually the better option. It just gives you a lot more tools at lower levels without the requirement of the gear to give you frenzy charges and onslaught. And it's really a lot of big difference. You get a lot of damage basically for free from your ascendancy. And as a league star where you can't get all the gear that you want and you not have too much currency, it's really good. It gives you a lot of damage with very low investment. How we want to go about it. As I mentioned, the new skills that have been introduced are Kinetic Bolt and Spellslinger, and these are the skills that you want to use when you're leveling. You can use them to leveling. If you don't want to use them for whatever reason, for example, if you're playing solo self-found, and as a ranger you actually don't get Spellslinger, so you might want to go with the bow skill, like Scourge Arrow, for example, to get yourself into Act 6, and get the Spellslinger, and then switch to Wand. But if you're in a trade league, you can just easily buy this from another player and pretty much start leveling as a Wand from level 1. Now, pretty straightforward at low levels. If you have a 4-link, you just want a Kinetic Bolt, add a cold, add lightning, and an elemental damage with hit attacks. If you only got a 3-link, just get lightning and elemental damage with attacks. And they're the two top links. That's what I had when I killed Kativa. And then when you get to level 24, you're gonna get Spellslinger. Now, what Spellslinger is, it basically reserves a small portion of mana, like 20, 25%, 30%, depends on what links you got on your skill. And it reserves the mana, and basically every time you attack with your wand skill, it'll proc the spell that's linked to Spellslinger. So in this case, it'll proc Arc, and Arc will proc Innovate when it kills a shocked enemy. So it's basically a poet's pen, but you can use it with any wand. It's extremely powerful. That extra damage from the spell kind of double dips with your Kinetic Bolt. So the big difference with Kinetic Bolt and your typical wand skill is that it converts spell damage into attack damage. So anytime you have spell damage on a piece of gear or on your tree, that's converted into attack damage for Kinetic Bolt. So it's really efficient when you have a wand that has spell damage on it, and it also gives you obviously a much wider variety of wands that you can use for the skill. And Spellslinger basically just straight up allows you to proc the spell that's attached to it when you attack with a wand. So having spell damage also helps out with the attached skill in the Spellslinger. So Arc will get the spell damage bonus as well as Kinetic Bolt. So they both double dip into that. And the most efficient way to level I found is just the Scale Lightning. So you get a Herald of Thunder and Wrath, and then get yourself a Blood Rage if you want, but Blood Rage is definitely not needed. So this is the setup. This is a setup that I had that killed Katava and Merklap. So it's quite packs quite a punch with almost no investment. You can literally do two three innings extremely easy to come by. Now, when you are mid levels, you can actually add a few more interesting stuff into it. Basically, you want to do, if you get like a tabular, a 6-link setup will look something like this. I'll leave everything in the description. You can go click on that and look into it. Just a few things you want to note. I want to know is the inspiration is quite important because Kinetic Bolt tends to take quite a little bit of mana consumption. So you want to run inspiration to just reduce that mana cost a little bit, just to make it a little bit more comfortable. And also Pierce is, I'm sorry, Kinetic Bolt already has Pierce, so this should be GMP. This is actually a mistake from my part. So if you want to be more clear speed, you put a great multiple projectiles, and basically you literally cover like half of your screen with one shot. So Kinetic Bolt already has Pierce by default. So greater multiple projectile just gives you a huge coverage on the map per shot. Barrage support you actually don't need barrage support either. So this is your setup. You can just take greater multiple projectile out and put in pretty much like anything else, like slow projectiles if you want for single target. But generally speaking, I haven't found the need to take out GMP because Kinetic Bolt, when I'm leveling, I'm actually just leaving it in there, and then all the bosses pretty much get melted regardless. It's quite powerful, especially with a Spellslinger attached to it. The arc actually does quite a lot of damage, probably does more damage in lower levels than your Kinetic Bolt, and it just kills everything quite efficiently and quite quickly. And then in the end game, basically, if you have in the end game, the ultimate goal is to transition into Power Siphon and get Fizz convert to Cold. So you wanted to get a wand eventually that has around 320 minimum physical damage, and then you can basically Cold convert Fizz convert to Cold. Fizz convert to Cold and run Power Siphon, and that'll give you the most damage for high-end damage reveal. And as Power Siphon, you can actually run. This is where you run Barrage support, and it'll just literally bundle up all the Power Siphon projectiles into one shotgun, and it literally deletes bosses really quickly. And when you're clearing maps, you just take out Barrage support and put in Pierce. And Power support already has multiple projectiles by default. It'll just literally clear everything in one shot with maps. It's really efficient and a lot of damage. And then when you switch to the Power Siphon, you wanted to Spellsling Wave of Conviction. Wave of Conviction is not that efficient in terms of killing things because it's kind of slow. So like when you're actually mapping with it, you'll find that a lot of times the wave don't even hit, and the Power Siphon projectiles already kill everything. So your spells, so the Wave of Conviction is only there to debuff like tough enemies. So it's just for the debuff. It's not really does much damage at this point. And then a Frost Bomb, you just cast it, and it's got elemental weakness on hit, so it gives you an extra buff against like bosses. It's quite nice of a punch. As a starter, this build is extremely cheap, so you really don't need any items to get you started. When I started, I just dual wield Moonsorrow, and they literally carried me to like tier 6 maps without any issues. They do a tremendous amount of damage, and they're really cheap, like 1 chaos. And then I basically transitioned from Moonsorrow straight into 320 Fizz DPS 1, and then I transitioned from lightning to cold at that point. But before I transitioned to cold, Moonsorrow is basically the go-to. You don't need anything else. It'll cover everything you need for the build. Another little trick that's really good is get a Thunderfist. Now this fist comes with add lightning with Stock of the Gem, so it's really cheap. It's like I think when I bought it, it was like on day 1 it was like 6 chaos or something. Now it's probably like 3 or 4 chaos, depends on what time. But you probably for 1 elk in a week, right? It's really cheap. So not only that it gives you add lightning, but it also gives you add lightning damage and it gives you added lineage with gem socketer. So it's a 5 link. It's basically a 5 link by default, and then the added lightning damage to attacks gives you that extra bit of damage. So it's almost as good as a 6 link. And basically, what I had is I put my one skill in Thunderfist, and then I have my Spellslinger in Moonsorrow, because Moonsorrow gives you blind as well. So you basically get blind on your Spellslinger arc, and then you get a pseudo 5 link on your kinetic bolt. And this is really nice, and you don't even need a tabula, right? I'd never had a tabula. I just ran with whatever body armor I can find that had the best resistance and health combinations that I needed, and that's it. So you don't even need a tabula. And then basically I transitioned from the Thunderfist into a 6-linked corrupted armor. They're really cheap. They're like, 10C, 15C, and you just gotta make sure they have the right colors, which is two red, 2 blue, and 2 green, and then you can just get whatever stats you need, some resist, some life. You pretty much just need life and a little bit of resist. You can get that pretty cheap, like 10, 15 chaos. Get that, and then you're set. You pretty much have a 6 link, and then you just, whatever else you have, you can just put it in there to fix up your resistance. There's no like required gear at this point. Stark is a really cheap helmet that you can get that's got a lot of damage to it. So I basically found my own Stark helmet, so you can buy that for pretty cheap. Another thing you want to get is one of the boots. There's a unique boots, I can't remember what it's called, but basically it gives you extra like movement speed, attack speed when you have frenzy charges. It's really cheap. It's always like 1 alch on day 1. It's super cheap. Get that if you want for your radar, which gives you quite a lot of damage for almost like no investment as well. Get the and then that's pretty much it. You can get whatever flask you need, just to make sure you have a diamond flask, and then everything else is basically optional. You don't actually need a silver flask because you get onslaught for free. But this is basically you just get whatever you need at this point in terms of flask. The skill tree. So I just want to show you the finished skill tree first. This is kind of like what the skill tree looks like. You actually don't need that, because that's probably gonna be like, yeah, that's like 88. So this is kind of like what you're probably gonna end up around level 88. So I'll just show you how we're gonna actually level the skill tree, just to give you an idea. So at the start, you take these life nodes, and then you want to go straight down this way, and you want to go straight for point blank. And after you get point blank, right, don't bother about taking any other nodes, because a lot of the wand skills requires a lot of int to use. So you basically at this point want to go straight for the intelligent nodes up here. So at this point you just want to go up here straight away. Alright, you want to go as quickly as you can towards the int nodes, because otherwise you will find that you're not going to be able to level up all your gems. You're not going to be able to use your wands because of lack of int. So you want to go take these, you want to go up this way, and you want to go there, and you want to take these crit nodes and take some life nodes here. And these nodes all gives you int. They're quite efficient. So take these, and then I went from here to all the way over here, and then up here, and then try to get this wheel as quickly as you can, because this is a big chunk of your wand damage gonna come from. Now, when you don't need wand slinger when you're running kinetic bolts, so you don't need this, but you do want wand slinger once you transition into power soften. So later on, you want to get that. But at this point, you kind of just want to. At this point, you probably want to start getting different. Obviously, depends on the gear and stuff you got. You want to start getting some of these life nodes along with. So you might not get this wheel right away. So you might end up somewhere like, for instance, you might want to end up somewhere like this, and then you want some life. You want some life first, and then you want to continue getting your, and then you want to continue to get your wand skills. Depends on what gear you got. Depends on how comfortable you are with your life. So at this point, you basically just want to take life and get your damage nodes as you, and then get your damage nodes. So at this point, up around this point, around level 40, you may want to get your labs. So the first lab you want to take is to get the frenzy charges. So you get the frenzy charge lab first, and once you get the frenzy charge talent, you want to start getting, instead of getting like damage nodes, you want to start getting all the frenzy charge nodes. So you want to just take these frenzy nodes as quickly, and then at this point you want to go over here and then take the frenzy charge nodes, take these life nodes, maybe this Jew socket, and then you do want one node of mana leech. So that depends on how comfortable you are. You will be a bit low with mana, so you might want to run a mana potion, but at some point you want to take this mana node to make it a bit more comfortable, to just, you don't have to juggle around. And in terms of DPS at this point, which nodes, the nodes that are going to give you the most damage are most likely going to be this one, and then depends on the gear you got, obviously. And then you want to take basically that, and then you want to take these nodes here. They're quite powerful. And then you might want to take a couple of Jew sockets. You might find you're a bit short on points, so you only want to take maybe one Jew socket and not take this one just yet, because you might find yourself a bit short on points at this point. And then you want to go over here and take out these points, get yourself a Jew socket. The reason that we go over here is because we want to start preparing yourself for the power charges to eventually transition into power siphon. And at this point, you can actually get power charge on crit on your arc, so you can potentially, instead of run innovate, you can run power charge on crit. And then if you do that, then you can actually take these power charge nodes at this point as well, because eventually you do want them for power siphon. And at this point, you might want to do you're probably going to do your labs. So you want to go here first, get your onslaught to your merc lab, and then they pretty much want to head into maps with this kind of setup. Now, there's something that I did notice. You do run low on int right at the beginning because it went straight for point blank. If you do run low on int or at the very beginning, and then you're like, there's not much you can do in terms of gear because you're solo self-bound, or you just don't have much currency to start at the start of the league, you take these two nodes. Take Primal Spirit. It gives you 20 strength and 20 int. It's going to give you a lot of like the missing stats you need right at the beginning of the tree. So before you go down all the way down to point blank, take these two, and then once you reach up here and you got all the int that you need, just take it out. Because that's what I did. I literally took these nodes and then went straight for Primal Spirit just to get the int, so I could equip my gear and use my skills, and then I went to take the point blank. And then once you get your overlaps, the last thing you want to get is the Avatar of Slaughter. And this is basically, you want to take acrobatics whenever you're starting to feel like you're a bit rippy, but generally I would take this as you're heading into maps, maybe before you're heading Kativa, depends on how comfortable you are with your gear. So take that at some point when you feel like you need it, and then you basically, this is kind of like the tree you want to be looking at going into maps. I have another video on Cold Fizz build, so if you are interested in going Endgame, that's a completely new video. I don't want to basically I have literally a 30-minute video. I'll link the description in the description. I'll put the link in the description below. You can go have a look at that. And basically, yeah, this is the build that I am league starting with, and it's currently working out extremely well, and packs a lot of damage and extremely cheap to start off as well. Anyway, guys, hopefully you're having a good time in Delirium and getting a lot of exalt drops. And thanks for watching. If you like my content, please feel free to give this video a like and hit the subscribe button. And if you do want to support me financially, hit the join button as well. Any bit of a support you guys can give me is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next time.